Regret can arrive so quietly that nothing around you changes. At 9:10 at night, a father stands inside an empty baseball facility, one hand resting on the cold rail near the bleachers. The sensor lights go dark one row at a time, the city sits in the black glass like a life he chased too hard, and the air conditioner keeps humming like it never learned how to stop. How does a man reach the thing he worked for and still feel like he misplaced something? This may be the silence that comes after choosing achievement over presence too many times. I'll walk through why that silence can grow, what it does to a father and a child, and one small way to face it without turning the past into a trial. This kind of silence is what happens when someone spends years telling himself his absence is part of love, then later realizes the people he loved may have experienced it as distance. It is not always loud. It may not come with a fight, a slammed door, or one dramatic sentence. Sometimes it comes after the promotion dinner, after the handshake, after the glass of water on the nightstand, after the congratulations that felt thinner than he expected. It comes when he sees an empty field and remembers how many times that field was not empty. A father may tell himself he was doing the right thing. He was building security. He was staying late so the mortgage could stay paid, so the car could stay running, so the family could have more options than he had. And in many ways, that may be true. A paycheck can be care. A stable home can be care. Long hours can come from love. But children often feel love through where someone's body is. They do not know the language of quarterly targets. They do not feel the weight of a performance review. They do not understand why a man in a pressed shirt on the other side of town is doing something important for them. They mostly know who is in the stands when they look over after a hit, a strikeout, or a small mistake they hoped someone would see kindly. So the father works. The child waits. The father imagines a future where all of this will make sense. The child learns, quietly, not to look for him after the second inning. One common reason is that some fathers are taught to show love by carrying pressure, not by being present. If a man grew up hearing that a good father provides, he may confuse being dependable with being unavailable. He may believe his strongest proof of love is the promotion, the bigger check, the title on the office door, even while his child is learning a different lesson from the empty seat. So he misses one game for a late meeting, then one tournament for a client dinner, and each absence feels reasonable until they form a whole season. For a lot of people, it starts when success becomes a way to silence fear. A promotion can feel like safety when someone has spent years worrying about money, status, or being seen as ordinary. The office rewards what the family cannot always see: staying late, answering fast, taking the call, being the reliable one when everyone else goes home. So the father stands under bright conference room lights while his child stands under field lights, and the gap between them gets covered with words like later, soon, and after this one big push. There's also a quieter reason. Sometimes a parent avoids the places where love might make him feel exposed. A baseball game is simple on the outside, but it asks for a kind of softness that work may not ask for. At work, he can know his role, read the room, chase the next mark, and measure the day by numbers. In the stands, he is just a father watching a child hope to be seen. So he chooses the room where he feels useful over the field where he might feel helpless, and years later the quiet in that choice becomes hard to ignore. It can look very ordinary while it is happening. No one may say, "You are missing too much." Or maybe someone does say it, but softly, at the kitchen counter, while he is half listening with his laptop open. His child may stop asking after a while. His partner may stop reminding him. The calendar may still have the games marked in blue, but he starts seeing them as things he wishes he could attend, not things his life is actually arranged around. And that is how absence becomes normal. Not because he has no love. Not because the child did not matter. But because each missed game had a reason that sounded responsible in the moment. The meeting ran late. The promotion was close. The company was watching. The team counted on him. The family would understand. And maybe they did understand, in the practical sense. Maybe they knew the bills were real. Maybe they saw the tiredness in his face when he came home. Maybe they heard the keys land in the bowl near the door and knew he had worked another long day. But understanding does not always erase the feeling of being alone. A child can understand and still remember the empty seat. A father can provide and still grieve what provision replaced. There is a particular kind of quiet that arrives when the goal finally appears and no one is standing close enough to celebrate it in the way he imagined. The promotion comes through. His name is announced. People clap. Someone says, "You earned this." And he smiles because he did earn it. He gave years to it. He gave weekends, dinners, calls in the driveway, birthdays he entered late, and baseball games he said he would catch next time. Then one night, maybe for reasons he cannot fully explain, he drives past the field. The parking lot is almost empty. The vending machines are dark. A maintenance worker has already dragged the infield smooth. He steps inside the facility because the door is still open, or because an old coach recognizes him, or because he says he just wants to see the place for a minute. It is 9:10. The field is quiet. He stands near the bleachers where parents used to sit with paper cups of coffee and folding blankets across their knees. The sensor lights click off in sections, one row after another, like the building is slowly closing its eyes. He looks through the black glass and sees the city behind him. Office towers. Traffic lights. Windows stacked on windows. The life he kept running toward is reflected there, neat and distant. The air conditioner keeps going. That sound may be the thing that gets to him. Not a speech. Not an old argument. Just that steady machine sound filling a place where his child once waited to hear his voice. He remembers a small detail, maybe not even a big game. His child's bat bag leaning against the garage wall. Cleats with dried dirt on the soles. A schedule taped to the fridge with one game circled because he had promised that one. He remembers saying, "I'll try," and meaning it when he said it. He remembers the meeting invite that arrived later and how quickly the promise became flexible. If you've been there, you're not strange. You might know someone who lives like this. This is what late regret can feel like when it does not arrive as punishment, but as recognition. It says, "Something mattered while I was busy mattering somewhere else." That sentence can be heavy, but it can also be honest. Because the silence in that empty field is not only about baseball. It is about the way love can become delayed until delay becomes the relationship. It is about the way a child can slowly stop expecting, not because they are angry every day, but because expecting takes energy. It is about the way a father can win something public and then face a private room inside himself that no one else can see. And there's something else here that isn't talked about enough. Sometimes regret feels late because the person finally has enough quiet to hear it. During the climb, every day has a task. There is always one more email, one more call, one more problem that feels urgent enough to push tenderness to the edge. But after the title changes, after the office door gets the new nameplate, after the applause fades, the mind may begin showing old scenes with sharper edges. Not to destroy him. Not to shame him. Maybe just to show him the cost that was hidden inside the pace. There may be a softer way to stand in that truth than arguing with it. A father in that moment may want to defend himself. He may start listing the bills, the long nights, the pressure, the sacrifices, the ways nobody saw how scared he was of falling behind. All of that may be real. But it can help to place those facts beside the child's experience instead of using them to cover it. Two things can sit in the same room. I was trying to care for my family, and my child missed me. That small sentence may open more honesty than a long explanation. Not a speech. Not a dramatic confession in the middle of the night. Maybe just a message sent without trying to polish it into something safe. "I drove by the field tonight and thought about the games I missed. I'm sorry I wasn't there more." That kind of sentence does not erase the past. It does not ask the child to comfort him. It simply puts the truth on the table without asking it to perform. There is another gentle place to begin, and it belongs more to the present than the past. He can look for one ordinary way to stop making love compete with achievement. It might be leaving the phone in the car during dinner. It might be showing up to a small adult league game, a grandchild's practice, or a simple Saturday breakfast without treating it as leftover time. It might be asking about the child's life and letting the answer be plain, even awkward, even shorter than he hoped. The point is not to recreate the games. The point is to stop living as if only the future deserves his attention. This may be where the silence starts to change shape. Not into a perfect repair. Not into a scene where everyone suddenly knows what to say. More like a small opening. A father who can stand in the empty field without running from what he feels may become a father who can sit across from his child without defending every absence. That may sound small. But for someone who spent years moving fast, staying still can be the honest part. He may notice how his body acts in the quiet. The urge to check his phone. The urge to leave before the lights go out completely. The urge to turn regret into a plan, a promise, a project, something measurable. But this kind of moment may not be asking for performance. It may only be asking him to stop making the same trade without noticing. The promotion was real. The work was real. The love was real. So was the absence. And maybe the ache comes from finally allowing all of those things to be true at once. A lot of people spend years hoping their family will understand the pressure they carried. Fewer people pause long enough to ask what their family carried while they carried it. That question can feel uncomfortable because it removes the clean story. It does not let him be only the hardworking father, or only the absent father. It makes him human, which is harder and quieter. Maybe he was praised at work for being the man who always came through. Maybe at home, that same pattern made him the man who often did not arrive. That is the emotional contradiction. He was reliable in one world and missing in another. He became someone people counted on, while one of the people who counted on him learned to stop counting. No wonder the silence feels so strange. It is not empty. It is full of all the noise that did not happen before. The cheer he did not hear. The glove hitting the dirt. The car rides after games. The small, casual stories a child might have told if he had been there while the uniform still smelled like grass and sweat and dust. There is grief in that, even when life looks successful from the outside. There is love in it too. Because regret often points towards something that still matters. If he did not care, the field would just be a field. The lights would just be lights. The air conditioner would just be a machine doing its job. But because he cares, the whole place speaks without raising its voice. This is for the fathers who looked responsible to everyone else, while slowly becoming a stranger to the moments their children remembered. It is also for the children who grew up checking the stands and pretending it was fine. The silence of a father who missed every baseball game for a promotion is not only the silence after success. It is the sound of a man finally standing still long enough to meet the part of his life he kept postponing. And maybe, in that empty field at 9:10, with the lights fading row by row, the first honest thing is not a big promise. It is one quiet sentence he can finally let himself feel. I was chasing a better life, and I missed some of the life I already had.